Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Immigration, a weekly show where I just talk about what's on my mind about the work that we're doing and about what's going on in the world of immigration. Okay. Or at least our little corner of immigration. So, there's been a development that some of you may have heard. The US is a democracy, so we had an election, and the winner of the election was former President Donald Trump, will again be the future president. He will be inaugurated on January 20th, 2025. So we have a small window of our opportunity where we can get some things done before new policies come that will very tightly restrict immigration and also entry into the US by non citizens. Um, this is also true in other contexts of immigration benefits, like if you um, asylum, adjustment of status, green card, anything that you need to do right now, you need to do it now. I mean, most processes take longer than the time you have right now. But here's going to be the problem. What we learned from the first Trump administration is where they cannot, where there's a place where they realize that they cannot break the law, they sabotage the machine. And what I mean is they um, so let's take Secretary Pompeo, for example, and Secretary Tillerson before him. What they did is they said no more new hires at the State Department. Okay. And so, because of attrition, when a consular officer left, they were not replaced. So, you had fewer consular officers. Did the same thing with USCIS, all immigration benefit agencies. Basically, they were sabotaged to where they were not staffed to do their job. So we have a window of opportunity where agencies are bureaucratically better structured than they will be soon, even aside from any presidential policies and laws that could be coming down the road. So jump on it. Okay. Some of you already realized this. That's why I was doing consults until 1 a.m. last night. And I appreciate you for recognizing what's about to happen, because the people that are not recognizing what's about to happen are probably going to pay a high price. Okay. I will share that if you wanted to know a little bit about how Trump's um, first term affected Iranian immigrants, I wrote a blog entry about that last Sunday, because I figured that people might want to know about that. So um, I don't know if I talked about it because it was last Sunday. I probably already did talk about it. Um, give me a second. If you go to my blog, that's what it's called. Reminder of Trump's impacts on Iranian visa applicants. And where's a banner? Banner. I don't know if I can create a banner for the blog entry. I'll try. See what happens. That's where you can find it. Okay. So basically, bad. I did Iranians, but it's true for half a dozen other countries like Yemen, Syria, Somalia, and will probably be there will probably be more countries impacted this time as well. I think Pakistan will probably be impacted as well this time as well. We'll see. So, I was a Boy Scout. I don't know if you know what that means. Scouting, it's where kids go into the forest in uniforms and have tents on the weekends, but the motto was be prepared. Okay. And I think it's very important going into uncertain times that we know that are going to be dark to be prepared. So if there's anything you can do to put your immigration case in a better position, do that now. Don't do that later. Okay. Be prepared. Okay. So I do have something to talk about. I have had 2 judges within the last 24 hours issue orders where the government had filed motions to dismiss, and the judges issued orders denying in part and granting in part, meaning our lawsuit survived the motions to dismiss because our responses in opposition were effective. Okay, that's always the goal. Of course, I would have preferred all of our causes of action and all of our plaintiffs survived, and that isn't exactly what happened, but it is still a win when you survive a motion to dismiss. Now, we've learned something from both of these, and a lot of Iranian family-based immigrants are out there. They signed up, over 100 families signed up on our waiting list for a big group lawsuit. Before we file this big group lawsuit, I want to be informed about what happened in PARS Equality, okay? So in PARS Equality Center versus Blinken, we included some of our former clients who had filed lawsuits in other districts and decided not to oppose when the government filed notices of voluntary dismissal. While I may not agree with this decision, with this viewpoint, the judge in PARS Equality Center, what she said was, it looked like we were forum shopping, and what that means is like judge shopping, like you file a lawsuit in one court and don't like the judge, so you file a lawsuit in another court. That isn't exactly what was happening here, because it was a different length of delay. Okay, if someone files a lawsuit now and then they file another lawsuit and they participate in a group lawsuit that has a cause of action that involves a policy or something, I think we had a defensible position with respect to how we were not judge shopping, but judge also had a good position that it looked like it. So we're going to be more careful about not putting the appearance that we're judge shopping or forum shopping. What that means is this next group lawsuit, if the government doesn't want us to do one big group lawsuit in one place, okay, we'll do one big group lawsuit every place. We'll do a big lawsuit in Los Angeles. We'll do one in Sacramento. We'll do one in San Diego, and we'll do one in San Francisco. And we'll do one in Houston, and we'll do one in Miami. We'll do one in Virginia and Maryland. I mean, we could probably do a couple in Pennsylvania, you know? So what I'm getting in Ohio, I mean, there's lots of states where people are impacted by administrative processing, and all the petitioners that live in those states are going to be, in the future, for our family-based group cases, we're going to put them together and file in their district, and that will rob the government of this improper venue, improper joinder arguments, and also it will satisfy the judge's concern that we were forum shopping. So we're not forum shopping anymore. We're going to shop. We're going everywhere. We're going to all the courts. Okay. If they don't want to see us in one court, if it's more efficient for the courts for us to go to all of them, that's what we'll do. I've recently hired 2 attorneys. I've made an offer to another where our team is getting is growing, and we will have capacity to do this. So I'm excited about that. So if you're on the wait list for our next Iranian family-based stuck in AP lawsuit, you should be receiving an email from someone on my team soon, getting a little bit more information from you, because before we just collected your name and your email address, and we should have collected where you are located and when your interview date was for your loved one, for your family member. So we're going to collect that additional information, and it will allow us to better match groups together where the petitioners are located in the same district and the claims are more alike. Okay, it's a good segue for me to talk about student visas. The way we are onboarding small group lawsuits for students now is if you're interested in something like that, we are filing lawsuits in group of 15 plaintiffs with similar interview dates, so similar length of delay. And the way you do that is you get with me or get with Farshad on my team, and you give us your name and your if you're an F1, J1, F2, J2, your name, your email address, and your interview date, and we will put you on the spreadsheet of our wait list. And we are filing with the oldest people on the spreadsheet first, and we're clumping you in groups of 15, and we're probably going to file a lawsuit like that every week as long as the US government continues to issue visas to Iranians. Okay. That might come to an abrupt stop on January 20th, at which time we would need to reassess our legal strategy. To be clear, I'm going to spend the Trump administration in court. I mean, we're going to be fighting unlawful actions. That's what we did during the first Trump administration. I probably filed a dozen lawsuits with my then co-counsel over challenging the way the administration was implementing the waiver, the waiver exception to the Proclamation 9645. So I would hope that they would have learned from those lawsuits and they'll get the wording right this time to where they can evade those legal challenges. But they're going to do something else. They will break the law in such a way that we will be able to bring lawsuits. We will be able to challenge them. And so I'm kind of, while I'm very frustrated with the election results, I'm excited that me and my team are in a really good position to do some work over the next 4 years that's going to be very needed. Okay. So we're looking forward to advocating for people that are going to be victims of what's to come. That's crazy. Okay, so I told the bad part about the PARS Equality Center order in San Francisco for the group lawsuit. I should say the good part too. Like what the judge did is she allowed us to transfer the cases out that she thought were improperly venued. So we're transferring those to DC. And then the case that remains, she said, here, I've got notes. She said the plaintiff's claims were not moot just because they received a 221G notice. She said the doctrine of consular non-reviewability that the government likes to hide behind doesn't apply in an AP case. She said the unreasonable delay inquiry, like whether the delay was reasonable or not, is too fact specific to be decided on a motion to dismiss. She found that the complaint adequately alleged a violation of the mandatory non-discretionary duty to adjudicate the visa applications within a reasonable amount of time. Okay, the State Department has a duty to do that. So she also required us and the government to do a joint briefing schedule in the next 7 days. So I love it when the government's required to do something, right? So that was yesterday's victory. And today we got an order in an individual mandamus lawsuit for an applicant that was a family preference category in administrative processing in DC. And we had a policy challenge on that mandamus lawsuit. If you're a regular viewer of my videos, you may have heard me a few months ago, 6 months ago, saying that I am sick of Blinken refusing to issue all the annual allotment of family preference category visas, even though he does it with every other visa category. With diversity visa selectees, 3 years in a row, he actually exceeds and gives more visas than he has. But with employment, they've been really proud that they've been meeting those allotments. But with family preference category, not so much. They're not really trying. And it makes me angry. And so we started out in one case in California, and we lost on that one, but we appealed it. It's appealed in the Ninth Circuit. We have some other cases where this is still a legal challenge that's pending in individual mandamus lawsuits. But in this case, the government attorney's motion to dismiss did not address that cause of action. And so the judge looked at it and said, well, I guess you don't have a problem with it. And so the motion to dismissed our claims for unreasonable delay, but upheld our claims that, well, not upheld, but did not dismiss our claim that the visa wastage scheme of Secretary Blinken with respect to family preference category visas, that can move forward. Okay, so that lawsuit's going to continue now. I tell that story for a very specific reason, and that is a lot of attorneys are like, "Oh, you can't challenge a policy; it's too hard." You know what? It is hard, but then sometimes it works. Um, it's like, don't do it because it's not going to work. Don't do it because it's not going to work, and that's what you keep hearing until it does work. Okay, so if you hire us to file a mandamus lawsuit, sometimes you may see something in the lawsuit that's novel that you've never heard of your friend's lawsuit had before. That's because we're always trying to evolve and be creative and come up with new legal strategies to get the State Department to act right and perform their duties to um, issue visas, right? That's what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. So I've talked about PARS. I talked about the case in DC that we had. I've talked a little bit about the group lawsuits that we're onboarding for families. I've talked a little bit about the group lawsuits that we're onboarding for students. Okay, now I'll go to individual mandamus lawsuits. Oh, comments. Okay, I'll answer your comments too. Maybe I'll answer comments first, and then I'll go back to individuals. Okay. Danape says, good evening, Curtis. How will a Trump administration affect EAD for asylum seekers? Great question. We don't know yet, okay? But if USCIS has fewer employees or they have like internal memo or guidance that causes inefficiencies, then it will be worse. So what I would say is expect the worst. Hope that doesn't happen, but that's what I would say. Okay. Jacaria says, hi. Hi, Jacaria. Jennifer says, thank you for doing this. It's like, hello, darkness, my old friend. Any advice for those of us on green cards who need to wait to apply for citizenship? I have 3.5 years left before husband and I can apply. That is a rough one. I do not have advice except do not do anything that would make you vulnerable. I will tell you some examples of things that could make you vulnerable. I talk to a lot of separated families where the green card holder goes outside the US for an extended amount of time, and then they risk when they enter that the Custom and Border Patrol officer determines that they have abandoned their residence in the U.S. And so they take their green card and they have to apply for a new one, and it's a big mess, and they have to prove that they couldn't help it. So don't do that. If you're leaving the U.S., don't be gone more than 6 months, and just stay living in the U.S. as lawful permanent resident. That's the first thing. Second thing, some people probably are taking for granted our public charge rule the way it is now. Like right now, if you need medical care or your children need food or something, you're not going to be penalized when you naturalize for accessing that. That's probably going to change. The Trump administration in the past was passionate about punishing people who used public benefits. Gosh, it's weird to say it out loud like that. If you have a choice between using public benefits or not using public benefits, don't use public benefits. Most people don't have a choice, but there's something else to avoid. Okay. Keep all your important papers. Don't lose them, because it might be more difficult to get them if you lose them. Those are the three tips off the top of my head. Sometimes people say, how can I accelerate? my path to citizenship, and there is a route. It's joining the U.S. military. Although I could see where people may be hesitant to join the U.S. military under the new president. So there's that. Okay. Tansky says, hello, do you believe LPRs who were approved with the interviews waived are at risk during removal of conditions? Okay. Under the law, you're not under any more risk because we have a new president. But what is going on is the law might change, our policies might change that would cause delays or a different take on things, right? So I don't have a belief about this one way or another, but I definitely would not expect everything's going to be okay. Um, and if you've experienced a delay with removal of conditions, I would recommend a mandamus lawsuit for that. I know my colleague Matt Galati does a lot of lawsuits for that, and they're very effective. So if you're entitled to an immigration benefit now, pursue it now while it is still available. Siavash says, hello, Curtis. This is more of a personal question. Oh, good. Has there been any development on the CM 273 lawsuit? Well, Siavash, you need to understand that I'm not going to say anything in a public forum that the government attorney is also watching. That kind of would not be a good idea. Okay. So if this is a question that you need to message me, or if it's more urgent, you want to know something sooner, email me. Okay. I do know that there have been applicants in that case that have got final decisions because I have it on my queue that I need to file a notice of voluntary dismissal of those plaintiffs. Okay. Zahanger says, my case was documentarially qualified December 6, 2021. Priority date current for F2B category. Am I affected? Affected by what? My case was documentarially qualified. Priority date current for F2 26, U26. Priority date current for F2. It's great that your priority date's current. Remember, that's not forever. It could always retrogress. It's great that you're documentarily qualified. Well, that's a long time to be documentarily qualified, I guess, because your priority date was not current before. I would be curious to know what embassy you're waiting on. Some embassies you have to wait longer than others, right? If you're asking, are you going to be affected by the Trump administration? That depends on what his proclamation says. So more information that would be helpful to answer your question is what your nationality is. You served in the military. Which branch and which embassy are you waiting on, what your visa category is. Okay. You're waiting on DACA. You know, interesting thing about DACA in Bangladesh, that they that embassy was behind in scheduling visas. They'd had a backlog before COVID. It shows up in a OIG report, a State Department OIG report. And it was funny because during COVID, all the embassies were saying, it's not our fault, it's COVID. Well, when DACA was doing it, I was like, really? Because DACA had a backlog for interviews even before COVID, and they never caught up, ever. Okay, so they're going on being behind now for, I don't know, 2018, 2024, 6 years of being behind and not caught up. And that's a resource decision. That's Secretary Blinken deciding for whatever reason that we don't want too many people getting visas in Bangladesh. I don't know. Pretty crazy. Okay, so that catches us up on questions. I'm going to go to this other thing I want to talk about. Individual mandamus lawsuits. We file a lot of individual mandamus lawsuits for individual families that are seeing an unreasonable delay of an immigration benefit. How long that is? I usually say 6 months is the place where we need to start talking. The lawsuit gets stronger the longer the delay, okay? So there's some people that have been in administrative processing since their interview for 5 years. That is a very strong lawsuit, very strong unreasonable delay claim. But then most people don't want to wait that long before they file a lawsuit because they know just filing the lawsuit causes the State Department to check the case and make sure it's being processed correctly, and that has value. So you kind of have to balance these two things. Giving what's coming with the Trump administration, I would say move heaven and earth to get what you want, and now is a good time to file a mandamus lawsuit. Would a month ago been better? Yes, but we can't do that. We can only do what we can do now. What I don't want is for people to call me after January 20th and say, he just issued a proclamation that says I can't immigrate to the U.S. What should I do? Well, you should have filed a mandamus lawsuit on November 6th when I told you to. That's what you should have done. You don't wait until something bad happens that you know that's going to happen. It's like the train is headed for a cliff. You see the cliff. You're on the train. You don't get off the train. Come on. Choo-choo. Get off the train. I'm acting a little crazy because I'm angry. Okay. Zahanger says, will I be affected by the Trump ban? Again, you didn't say your nationality, so I don't know if you'll be affected by the Trump ban or not. But also, I don't know what countries he's going to list. You know, it can be a little crazy. He could just list all the countries he could remember. He may have Wakanda listed there. That was from a movie, I think. Okay, we're going to wrap up early today. I have a lot to do, but I have covered everything I wanted to talk about. I will say it's a dark time and lots to be scared of, but just know that there's people out there that are planning to fight for you for as long as we can until they shut us down. Okay. And Red Eagle Law, my team, we're part of that. We're going to be advocating for you, whether or not you like it or not, whether or not the Trump administration likes it or not, that's what we're here for. So everybody have a great week. And hopefully next Wednesday we'll have we'll be a little bit better mood. Yeah. Okay.